Hello, this is Steven and yes, we're back with another Batman 66 episode review, and today we'll be reviewing the episode The Joker's Epitaph, the part 2 to this Joker two-parter. So without further ado, let's hop straight into the review. When we last left off in the previous episode, Robin is tied down onto a conveyor belt, and two robots working, in league with the Joker, or working with the Joker, are forcing Bruce Wayne to pull the lever to turn him into the comic book, but Bruce is heavily resisting. We do the opening credits, and we kick back to where we last left off. Whilst this is happening, it turns out Alfred is there, dressed up in Batman's batsuit. He then ends up bat climbing up the wall and gets into the window and throws some bat gas. It's distorting Joker, his female accomplice, and his henchmen to quickly run out the back of the building to quickly make their escape. Bruce tries to follow them, but he's lost them. Thanks to Alfred's quick thinking, Robin is saved from being turned into a comic book. However, Bruce reveals shocking news, or devastating news, that despite that, Joker has managed to escape with a special form of paper, making Joker vice chairman of Gotham City National Bank. We then see the Joker at his time running the bank, and he's using two of his robot tellers to be the cash tellers. And then he says he's going to visit Bruce Wayne for a private business meeting. Batman and Robin quickly get back to the Batcave and quickly back to Wayne Manor, where they are introduced to the Joker. We find out that Joker has recorded Bruce Wayne's conversation when he asked for the deal for counterfeit money, and Joker demands a deal. Bruce kill Batman, or that gets turned over to the authorities. However, they realize he can't. However, Bruce says despite that, he is no killer, because how criminals killed his parents, he swore he'd never kill. I like how even though it's been a while, it's good that they call back to Bruce's parents' death, something that is quite rare to do. And just as that's happening, they realize they have to go with Plan B, and essentially, Joker's female assistant, intends to marry Bruce, and Joker explodes it all over the media. Commissioner Gordon and Chief O'Hara hear about this and call Batman, but Batman says they have that Bruce is an adult and they have no other choice. Just as that's happening, Robin is saying, why can't we just reveal the truth? And I gotta agree, why don't they? Because you see, in the show, they've established that Batman and Bruce Wayne are quite, are really best friends. And it could easily be plausible that, say, Bruce went along with this to help nail the Joker. However, Batman says, how could they explain this? And I just said it, but even I feel that is the major plot hole I am noticing here. However, despite that, Batman plans a new counterattack to finally nail the Joker by reprogramming the robot from the beginning of the episode and reprogram it to essentially help Batman and Robin out with this caper. We then cut to Gordon O'Hara at his office along with a doctor, planning to essentially call into question Bruce's mental state. Something I find to be very unique, that Bruce's mental state for once is being called into question, and that's not just the first time in the show, but I think it's the first time ever outside the realm of in other Batman media, Bruce's mental state. We then see that Chief O'Hara, along with two men, have come to take Batman, put him in literally a straitjacket, and throw him in the back of a police van and drive away. Alfred is notice this, tells Robin, and quickly race to quickly get him. We then see Alfred and Robin in the Batmobile driving after Bruce. They then use some bat gadget to open the door of the police car, and Bruce essentially ducks and rolls. He then switches clothing with Alfred, because Alfred's dressed up in the Bat costume, and quickly gets in the Batmobile and drives off. We then cut to Gordon at the bank, telling Whiteface to essentially vacate the premises because Bruce was not in the right mental state to have hired him in the first place. However, despite that, they still know about the marriage thing. However, the robot from the first episode comes in and tries to pass off as the Joker's assistant's wife, and Batman and Robin arrive in, and just as that's happening, the bank tellers are essentially pulling a stick up to the customers. Just as that's happening, Joker quickly gets out his device and quickly reorders the robots to be loyal to him. Batman then notices that robots have one major thing, their sense of loyalty. Realizing that, a bat fight breaks out. It's pretty fun and average, with the Joker essentially being defeated, and his female accomplice being arrested. However, the fact they can't really apprehend him for the crimes of being for counterfeiting, they do have one thing: when he ordered the robots to kill him, that is the only crime they can pin on him, which I find to be really blank. Wait, really, that's the only crime. Anyway, we then end the episode with Bruce getting his evaluation and proving that he's not mentally ill, and we end our episode there, with next week the Catwoman will return. The main cast here is really on pointing, even though it's kind of out, just like my problems with from the previous episode still stand. I still like how Alfred joined in to pretend to be Batman was fun, and Bruce's mental state calling into question how Bruce is really more in a dilemma rather than Batman. Something really interesting, and despite the fact what Gordon and O'Hara think, they do take matters into their own hands, which I do admit does make it somewhat different and even helpful to the events of the story. And really proves that they're not incompetent policemen, despite what we clearly saw with Gordon in the previous episode. Really helps out no matter what. Cesar Romero as the Joker. Now, despite the fact I'm having a few problems with plot-wise with this episode, Cesar Romero is making it at least tolerable to watch these pair of episodes. There's just something about his energy, his line delivery, and overall presence that Cesar Romero is. You really tell he's having a blast with this role, he's never getting bored of it, and is really making these episodes at least watchable. And that is purely due to Romero's charisma and charismaticness than anything else. The Joker's Epitaph, I think, is a tolerable episode. Well, the other one was good and okay, this one's tolerable. And that's because I'm finding things are going too over the place and don't make enough sense. Now, you think with Joker this would make sense, him going from one plot to another, kind of like it was with the Zodiac crimes. But the thing is, I feel it's not written well, and not even with some of its plots go anywhere. I mean, the counterfeiting goes nowhere, and some things don't make sense after some things that have clearly been established in previous episodes, hell, even of the previous season. It just feels like this was poorly written and even rushed into production without even a thought of, would this make sense? There we have it, that's the Joker's Epitaph. Those are my thoughts on the episode. But don't worry, this is not the last time we'll see Joker this season. He will be back. But sadly, next time, we will be seeing the last time of Julie Newmar in the role of Catwoman. So, if you want to tune in for that, be here at the next Steven hour, the same Steven time, and the same Steven channel, ladies and gentlemen. So long for now.